The sound of fingernails scraping the tile floor at the train station that night still haunts me to this day. My name is Linda. I'm an ordinary office worker living with my family in the suburbs. Since it was quite far, I had to take the bus to the city every day for work. That night, I got off work later than usual because I had to finish a rushed project. When I ran to the station, the last bus had already departed. With no other option, I walked to the central train station to catch the last night train to the suburbs. The train station at night was strangely empty. No staff, no passengers. Everything was suffocatingly silent. I sat down on the waiting bench, starting to feel a bit uneasy. A little while later, I heard a strange noise. I stood up and looked around, but there was no one. I told myself it must have just been the wind. When I turned around, I froze. At the other end of the station, something was crawling toward me. It was the upper half of a woman's body, her long black hair covering most of her face. She had no legs and used her bony hands to drag herself forward, leaving a long, dark trail of blood across the tiles. The woman crawled towards me, one drag at a time, with two arms covered in scratches oozing dark blood. I panicked and ran, but I didn't know which direction I was going. My legs no longer felt like mine, stumbling and shaking, making me trip again and again. But I couldn't stop. The woman was hot on my heels. Just as I thought I would die there, the night train suddenly appeared. I collapsed to the floor, all strength drained from my body. A few weeks later, I accidentally read an old newspaper article that said this train station once had a young girl who was harmed. While escaping, she fell onto the tracks and was run over and cut in half by a passing train. Since then, her ghost has lingered at the train station, seeking revenge for her tragic fate.
Lissy grew up in a violent family, with her biological father being an abusive alcoholic. In a drunken rage, he killed Lissy's mother. When he sobered up, the guilt consumed him, and he took his own life. I was Jane, 20 years old. Lissy was my adoptive sister, taken in by my parents after her biological parents passed away. We grew up under the same roof, but Lissy was always distant and withdrawn, no matter how hard I tried to get close to her. One day, my parents suggested a family trip, hoping it would help Lissy heal after such a devastating loss.
Where would my precious daughter like to go?
I want to go to the beach. We haven't gone in so long, Dad. But I never imagined that a simple conversation would mark the beginning of a terrifying tragedy. That day, my parents attended a party and told us to prepare dinner ourselves. I planned to order food and wanted to ask Lissy if she would like to eat with me.
Lissy, I'm ordering dinner. Do you want anything?
There was no response. The door was unlocked. yet the room remained eerily silent. Hesitating for a moment, I pushed the door open, but Lizzie wasn't inside. It was my first time entering her room. Everything was neat and clean. My eyes landed on the desk, where an old diary lay neatly. On the cover, the word "die" was scrawled in bold red letters. A sense of unease rose within me, yet I couldn't stop myself from picking up the diary. Inside were grotesque, twisted drawings drenched in blood, horrifying and disturbing. Frightened, I quickly shut the book and tossed it back onto the desk. My heart pounded, my breath quickened. At that moment, I noticed another word carved deeply into the desk. Kill, with my name etched right next to it. My entire body froze. My breath became heavy. What was Lizzie trying to do? Suddenly, her cold voice rang out behind me.
Jane, who gave you permission to touch my things?
Startled, I turned around to see Lizzie's expressionless face staring at me. Lizzie, what is all this? Lizzie said coldly.
I hate you. I want you dead.
With that, she pulled a sharp knife from her pocket and lunged at me. I quickly dodged, but the blade still sliced deep into my arm, sending a sharp pain through me. Lizzie then kicked me hard in the back, making me fall onto the floor. She opened a drawer, pulled out a rope, and immediately pounced on me, pinning me down. Before I could react, my wrists and ankles were already bound tightly.
Why are you doing this to me?
I hate how happy you are. I hate your stupid, cheerful smile.
She dragged the blade across my cheek, the cold steel sending a chilling sensation through my skin. Lizzie, please stop. Everyone loves you.
Love! You have everything. Parents, vacations, attention. And me? I'm nothing but a discarded piece of trash.
No, Lizzie. We all want you to come with us on the trip.
Shut up! I don't need your pity.
My pleas only fueled her rage. She gripped the knife tightly and stabbed it deep into my thigh. A searing pain shot through my body, and I screamed in agony. Lizzie's fingers tightened around the knife handle, preparing to drive it down with all her strength. I truly thought that would be the last moment of my life. But just then, my mother's terrified scream shattered the air. Looking towards the door, I saw my parents standing there, their faces frozen in horror.
Lizzie, what are you doing?
Lizzie, put the knife down.
Don't come any closer or I'll kill her.
In an instant, my father lunged forward, grabbing Lizzie's wrist and struggling to pry the knife from her grip. Lizzie suddenly bit down hard on my father's hand, making him yelp in pain and loosen his grip. Taking advantage of the moment, she broke free and turned towards me, eyes burning with madness. My father quickly grabbed her from behind, wrapping his arms around her tightly. She thrashed violently, screaming.
Lizzie, my love, please stop.
Lizzie suddenly froze, turning to look at my mother. Her grip on the knife loosened, and it clattered to the floor. Perhaps, at that moment, she remembered her biological mother, the only person who had ever truly loved her. After that day, my parents took Lizzie to see a psychiatrist. She was diagnosed with severe psychological disorders caused by past trauma, so she had to stay at the hospital for treatment. What Lizzie did to me was painful, but I never once hated her. In fact, I felt even more sorry for her. I only wished for our family to be whole again someday.
I never used to believe in ghosts, but that no longer mattered after what I had experienced. Hello, my name is Doris. I am 25 years old, and the story I am about to tell has haunted me ever since. Back then, my mother fell seriously ill and had to be hospitalized. Worried about her, I stayed at the hospital to take care of her. She was placed in an old room at the end of the hallway. The doctors didn't want her to stay there, but the hospital had run out of rooms. I didn't think much of it. After all, every hospital had old rooms, didn't they? But on the very first night I stayed, I began to feel that something was wrong. As I was about to close my eyes, a strange sound came from the bathroom. At first, it was just a light movement, as if someone inside was trying to open the door. But then, it turned faster, stronger, until the door burst open with a loud click. I swallowed hard and stepped forward to check. There was no sign that anyone had just been in there. Shaking my head, I told myself that I was just too tired and imagining things. But just as I turned away, a sob echoed. A faint, mournful sound that sent chills down my spine. It came from the very same bathroom. My heart pounded as I looked back inside. Yet there was no one there. When I glanced at the mirror above the sink, I saw a child. Pale skin, hollow eyes, weeping blood. Suddenly, a chorus of laughter rang out, filling the room as if dozens of children were laughing at once. I stumbled back, my heart racing, and hastily flipped the light switch. The boy and the laughter vanished. At that moment, the door to the room swung open. A pregnant nurse walked in to check my mother's temperature. She was thin, her face pale, and her uniform looked worn as if it had been used for a long time. I glanced at the clock on the wall, feeling strange. Wasn't it too late for rounds? The nurse smiled gently and said,
"Hello, I'm here to check the patient's temperature."
I returned her smile and asked, "I see, but you're still working this late?" She smiled again.
It's our responsibility after all.
As she took my mother's temperature, she told me a story about this room. She said that about 10 years ago, a nurse had secretly aborted her child in that very bathroom. Overcome with guilt, she had jumped out of the window. Her body was found in the parking lot the next morning. Hearing this, I immediately told her about what I had seen earlier in the bathroom. She listened, then smiled and said,
Perhaps the boy was the spirit of the unborn child.
I quickly asked, "How do you know that?" She chuckled and said,
I made it up.
With that, she left the room, leaving me in suffocating silence. Just then, I noticed a drop of blood slowly trailing down her leg. Panicked, I rushed to the door, intending to call her back, but the hallway was empty. Not a soul, not a single sound. I stood frozen, a chill creeping down my spine, making the hairs on my neck stand on end. When I returned to the room, my mother was fast asleep. I lay down on my bed, but no matter how much I tried, I couldn't sleep. The night dragged on, each tiny noise making me jump, until I finally saw the first light of dawn. When the doctor came to check on my mother, I told him everything that had happened the night before. He listened, his eyes thoughtful but not surprised. Then he said slowly,
There have been many rumors about this room, but there is no pregnant nurse working at our hospital.
My chest tightened, my mind swirling with confusion. Then who was she? A shiver ran through me. Could she have been the nurse who had aborted her child and jumped from the window? The following days, everything seemed to return to normal until my mother was discharged. As I helped her out of the room, I instinctively turned back, and I saw the nurse standing by the window, holding a baby in her arms. Panicked, I rubbed my eyes, but when I looked again, she was gone, as if she had never been there.
People often dreamed about magic lamps and 3 wishes. But what if those wishes turned into curses? I was Kevin, an office worker living alone in a small house in the suburbs. That day, on my way home from work, I passed by a roadside dump and was drawn to something glittering in a pile of old junk. It was a porcelain teapot with chipped glaze and faded patterns. But something about it felt like it came from a fairy tale. A faint light seemed to flicker from it, strangely pulling me in. I picked it up, brushed off the dust, and decided to take it home as a decoration for my bedroom. That night, I dreamed of a soft whisper in my ear.
Rub me. 3 wishes will come true.
I jolted awake. The room was still pitch dark. The teapot sat quietly on the shelf. I turned on the light and stared at it, a curious feeling welling up inside me. I picked up the teapot, thinking of the old tales I had read, and rubbed it. Nothing happened. I laughed at myself, feeling silly, and went back to sleep. The next morning, just as I stepped out the gate, the neighbor's dog rushed out, barking furiously.
Why don't you just drop dead?
When I came home that evening, I froze. The dog was lying stiff and lifeless right in front of the house across the street. A strange, indescribable feeling crept over me. Later that night, after a shower, I turned on the TV and began watching the news. They were reporting a terrorist group holding 20 hostages in a shopping mall.
Why not just kill them already? Why bother taking hostages?
And minutes later, the next news update came in. All 20 hostages have been killed for unknown reasons. I shivered, frozen in front of the TV. Could this really be a coincidence? I tried to recall everything and suddenly remembered the teapot and the strange dream from the night before. At that moment, I panicked as I remembered the phone call with my mother at noon. In a fit of anger, I had shouted, "Did you live just to make my life miserable?" I grabbed my phone and called her over and over, but no one answered. In despair, I ran to find the teapot, determined to destroy it. I tore the room apart, but it was gone. The teapot had vanished without a trace. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was a message from my aunt. "Your mom is gone." On her stomach was carved, "Third wish,